Hello everybody, welcome back. I am Kate Rebel. This is Kate Rebel's Realm. Thank you so much for coming for part 1 of the Esoterics. We are going to jump into the legendary lore of these Esoterics. I have not even looked to see who I'm doing today yet, which is a lot of fun. I actually just opened the game for the first time today. I haven't even claimed my dailies. Okay, so it doesn't look like they added the new heroes yet for me to read, but that's okay. I will do a video once they bring them to life, once the game actually updates, because I think it can only come in the update, and we're getting a lot of new things in this update, so I know that's why it's taking so long. But oh my gosh, it's going to be so much more entertaining with like the farming and all the things. I don't really know too much. I'm just kind of waiting for it to update so that I can just like give myself to the game. Anyway, let me just start here on the Esoterics. In it's something. The Embalmer. Upon ascending to divinity, Innit, wielding the pride of a true god, will not engage in combat personally. Instead, he bestows the ancient core upon his mortal allies to strike at his enemies. Ooh, so you're kind of a good guy? Wait, what are you? You're a mage, okay. I actually don't really know much about him. This whole thing creeps me out. He kind of looks like Snoop Dogg to me, but I also don't like it. The Embalmer. His was a soul that sought not just to conquer death, but to enslave it. In his quest for immortality, he became a prisoner of his own making. Esotericist sage. In times past, the Mordius was ruled by powerful pharaohs, kings of the vast expanse, who sought to amass power and transcend their immortal bounds in search of everlasting life. Of these ancient rulers, perhaps few were as driven as Innit, the Embalmer. Having amassed an empire of wealth, yet still unable to withstand time's cruel embrace, Innit was confounded by the mysteries of death and the great beyond. In his quest for immortality, he would spare no effort to appease his gods, sacrificing fields of livestock and constructing ornate shrines on the backs of the peasantry. But as time marched on and its deepest fears began to claw away at him, desperate for answers, Innit became reckless, and one night imbibed an entire vial of Seer's tincture in hopes of seeking truth. Innit soon found himself deep inside a vision, traversing through a swarthy and nebulous realm, his entire being pulsating with energy. As he drifted effortlessly through the fabric of time, he found that with a flick of his wrist, he could create matter or destroy it all the same. It was here in the shadowy nether where Innit had his first revelation. He emerged emboldened and immediately ordered a blood offering to be prepared. The next day, with his followers present at the sacrificial altar, Innit's face flashed with a wicked grin. As the incantations were being recited, he approached the poor soul at the altar, drew his blade, and in a shocking display tossed the man aside and proceeded to impale himself. Cackling vociferously as his blood slowly emptied into the altar's bowl, legend claims that his lust for power had consumed him, driving him into the depths of insanity. But legend, of course, is a tale written by the living. It wasn't until centuries later that the Esoteria order began making their inroads into the Mordius, exploring the region in pursuit of knowledge. When they stumbled upon Innit's tomb, however, encrusted with its strange hieroglyphs and ancient treasures, a powerful presence could immediately be felt. They channeled their magic in an attempt to contact the spirit, and for a brief moment, Innit was glimpsed. Troubled with what they saw, the ominous chamber was reported to the supreme arbiters who came to investigate. In the tomb, filled with the dank, rotten smell of death, the arbiters sensed danger. They requested contact with the spirit, and the Esoterics began their ritual. What presented itself next, however, was no longer a human, but a blackened beast with a jackal's head, surrounded by mysterious cores that appeared to manifest at will. Innit's ascendance to immortality had been completed. Convinced the tomb would be discovered by rival factions, the arbiters boldly decided to resummon this nether being into the world using the esotericist's magic, shackling him in with divine power. Alas, such was the ironic fate of Innit, the Embalmer, a god-king who at once had gained and lost everything. A heart of darkness shackled in by divine will, He serves as a testament to the intense power struggle forming in the Taiyan realm, his fate now inextricably bound to the forces beyond himself. See, I would watch that movie. I do really love the ancient Egypt, Mesopotamian kind of vibe. This is so cool. I really love that he has this blue scarab. Yes, Snoop Doggy Dog. And the esoterists found him and went, "You're coming home with us and you're gonna be an arbiter." That doesn't seem like a good idea. They're like, this guy in this crusty old tomb, come be an arbiter with us. No, don't do that. And we did Anora. We're just gonna give a little remembrance. Fallon. Ooh, this is exciting. The Cosmic Guillotine. If you've seen him, it's already too late. Rogue at a campfire. Balance is never attained with ease, and yet it must be achieved regardless. This is the core belief of the Supreme Arbiters, who engage daily in a mortal war against disarray and flux. When a head rises from the masses threatening to disrupt Taiya's balance, it typically doesn't take long to be lopped off. But who wields the blade? There is no one as trusted for such business as Fallon, the Cosmic Guillotine. As a child of the Fae, Fallon was discovered by the Arbiters in a scene so morbid the taste of iron was palpable in the air for leagues around. Strewn about a quiet woodland glade, roughly a dozen bodies lay, silenced forever. In their center stood Fallon. Where were the child's kin? And how could one so young be capable of such violence? These were some of the questions asked by the Arbiters as they debated the future of the youngling. While some advocated for a swift, merciful death, Praetus foresaw a far more useful future. Under the guidance of the Arbiters, Fallon evolved from a rage-fueled child into a disciplined executioner. When judgment was cast upon a person or group disrupting the balance of the realm, the guillotine would carry out the sentence dutifully. His eyes were the eyes of death, and that is what he delivered. Like a methodical bloodhound, Fallon served the Arbiters without question for many years until the one mark out of the hundreds he'd been assigned gave him hesitation. A child. Believed to be the subject of a dark prophecy, the youth was condemned to death by the Sun Supreme to prevent future ills. Whether Fallon was reminded of his own past or not remains anyone's guess, but he could not bring himself to kill one so young. Working with Alistair, the meteor sage, Fallon secreted the child away, shielding them from harm. The Sun Supreme was enraged by the betrayal, but Fallon stood firm in his resolve. No longer willing to serve as the Arbiter's mad dog, Fallon now stands alongside the meteor sage. The pair intend on reforming the ways of their faction to lesser extremes and hope to prove that the balance can be obtained by means other than bloodshed. If he's with Alistair, then what am I thinking of? Yeah, okay, I'm not wrong. So I guess he teams up with Alistair. He says, "Get off my back, Praetus." And then all of a sudden, Ingrid drops down from space, and he's thankful that he backed off of whatever Praetus was telling him, because he probably would have died. Like, imagine that. Imagine he never gets to meet Ingrid and be a little simpy boy kissing at her feet. That's his real end. Or beginning. Leave a comment in the section down below. Beginning or end for Fallon. Seraphina. The Caustic Serpent. The ominous blue flame of Seraphina conceals mystique and curse within its core. Ooh, cool. When you're not a 5 or a 4.9 on your own faction trial, I get a bit concerned. The Caustic Serpent. In my dreams, this one coiled around the very world. Desomi. Ooh, are we gonna get a little story about Desomi and Seraphina in here, or is he scared of her? I don't know if that was nice or bad. In the shifting sands of the Mortius Desert, a chimeric creature clings to life beneath the unforgiving sun. Half serpent, half human, she is between worlds in every sense. Seraphina, the Caustic Serpent, is a product of the gods themselves, and her fire has only just begun to sear the flesh of Taiya. Seemingly abandoned as a child, Seraphina was discovered by a traveling troupe of abominable beings, much like herself. one might be more familiar with the term freak show. The concepts are the same. The matron of this troupe was called Alva, and she looked after Serafina with motherly care, calming her nightly with music from her flute. Serafina flourished within the troops of misfits, eventually performing her own act where she would coil herself around various objects, snapping them to pieces in time to Alva's flute. What's more, she could hurl flaming projectiles across the stage, incinerating anything set in her path in a torrent of blue fire. Spectators clamored to her performances, enchanted by the enigmatic chimera and her dazzling scales, but Serafina's origins were shrouded in secrets, and, much like shadows, could not be contained forever. Gazing into the audience one evening, Serafina met the piercing gaze of Dasomi, the dream giver, who'd long been searching for her. In the privacy of her tent, Dasomi convinced Serafina to be put to sleep, that he might reveal the secrets of her past through dreams. Placed in deep slumber, the tapestry of Serafina's past unfurled, one woven in divine love and forbidden desires. She was the offspring of deities revered by the Chaos Dominion, her reptilian form the product of a lineage steeped in the blood of primordial gods. She saw her celestial parents' final moments, who, before succumbing to the blades of their own divine kin, transported Serafina across the veils of existence to the desolate embrace of the Mortius Desert. Alva's intervention was no coincidence, for she was sent by the Supreme Arbiters to block Serafina from the magnitude of her own origins, masking her true nature beneath the guise of mundane existence. What's more, Alva had been using her magical flute to quell the Chimera's power all these years. As a member of the Chaos Dominion, and one who had worshipped her parents, Dasomi had come to liberate Serafina. Years of deception churned volcanically inside, and by the time Alva entered her tent, Serafina's mind was made. First, she snapped Alva's flute in two, then Alva. Finally, she raised the grounds of the troupe, spewing the blue-tinted flames of her ancestors. As the screams ran amidst the burning tents, she vowed never to be controlled again. Girl, what? That made no sense. Are you kidding me? Your parents were dying, and they made sure you were going to be safe. They sent you off. Alva's been literally helping you your whole life. She was playing music for you. She brought you into their troupe. She gave you a job, a life, love, a family. And you get this one random guy show up saying, "Hey girl, can I come in your tent? I'm going to put you to sleep so that you have no will over your own body. You're asleep. You don't know me. You're going to be asleep, and I'm going to look into your mind, take your dreams away, and who knows what else, because you're passed out." And then tells her all these things that happened to her, which is great, cool, heal from it. Could have been worse. You let some random dude in your tent. And then you say, "I don't want to ever be controlled again," and you get rid of Alva and all of your family and troop, but this guy just controlled your mind. I don't like you. You suck. Helga. This is one of the best summon shard events that we've had. I freaking love her. Oh, we have another carrying queen. Helga. Wherever Helga soars, her loyal ravens faithfully glide in her wake like an inseparable shadow. This winged queen unfurls her colossal obsidian wings, casting a shadow that blots out the sun. Like a relentless downpour, her razor-sharp feathers descend upon her foes, rending them asunder. It's reminding me of Aeon. I wonder if the story is going to be similar or not. Don't look up. First mate of the Dreadcrawler. If you travel to Taya's southern shores, take note of the ravens that circle above. If their numbers rapidly swell and the air begins to taste of ash, chances are high that you've drifted into the black domain of Helga, the carrion queen, and you're already dead. Centuries ago, in a castle by the sea, queen and king ruled in unison, beloved by the subjects they watched over. They had no known enemies and were regarded throughout Taya as the most just of rulers. They were also madly in love. While both were proficient in many crafts, the queen's favorite hobby was bird keeping. In a dazzling aviary situated at the highest point of her castle, she'd spend countless hours tending to her myriad collection of winged companions. Ravens were her favorites. She reveled in their cleverness and nurtured their curious minds. In time, she would be able to train them as messengers and would keep correspondences with the other regions of Taya, sharing news of the southern shores while noting the happenings of neighboring lands. But the king and queen were naive of their vulnerable position. Though none in Taya would dare attack their respected land, trouble brewed from the sea itself as pirates infiltrated their vulnerable docks one moonless night. While they savagely tore through the castle defenses, the king did all he could to rally his men while the queen took to atrium to call for aid. Just as she'd sent a raven into the night, the pirates stormed the atrium, tossing the king's head at her feet. Her cry rang out against the dark, bolstered by the shrieks of her fowl. Realizing what she'd done, the raiders became enraged, knowing their time to plunder would be quite limited before the king's bannermen arrived. As a result, they set fire to the atrium, burning the queen and all her winged children alive. What happened next has never been explained. After quickly plundering the castle, the pirates took to the sea to avoid any who might come to lend aid. When their ships were found several days later, aimlessly colliding with one another, each and every man aboard was found clawing at eyes which had been plucked from their sockets. Raven feathers were scattered across the decks. Many believed the carrion queen haunts her lost coastal kingdom to this day, gouging the eyes from any who infringe upon its borders. Well, that was just so sad. Like, honestly, horrible. They weren't doing anything. They were literally in their castle, creepy little like Addams Family maybe. People stayed away. They let them do their weird stuff in their castle. No one bothered them. Stupid pirates. Oh my gosh. She was just having a nice life. She had her hobbies, he had his. They were happy, and then she had to witness his decapitation. Dude. Not okay. Disgusting. I don't think there's much we can do. She's dead and half bird now. These stories haven't been boring, and now we got Boreas, who is one of the best heroes in the game, in my opinion. The Arbiter of Frost. Boreas, an ice elemental born within the icy depths, commands the unfathomable power of ice magic. Yet he remains enamored with acquiring new knowledge. Yeah, we like Boreas. Boreas is cool. Let's see what your story's about. Arbiter of Frost. Honest to gods, I never would have guessed a man with a heart of ice could be so completely cordial. Notes from a White Tower lecturer. Do you think that was like after she went on a date with him? She was just like writing in her little diary. She's like, oh my goodness, I thought he was going to be all icy cool, but he was warm inside. Lovely man. Not a bore at all. Far, far in the north, there is said to be a towering palace of gleaming crystalline spires rising from the endless stretch of pure white snow. Crafted from ice over the course of centuries, this glacial monument was created by Boreas, the Arbiter of Frost, an elemental born from the cold itself. Boreas spent hundreds of years refining his control over ice. The palace stands as the ultimate testimony to his magical prowess. But once it was completed, Boreas found himself at a loss. Having created such a monument, how could he challenge himself next? The answer came from an unexpected source of inspiration. The books on magic and history that he had long collected. Boreas decided to leave his frozen domain behind to begin a new journey to a place he had only read about, the White Tower. The night that Boreas arrived at the White Tower was unforgettable for the scholars and students in attendance. As they recall, the front doors of the foyer flew open into a gust of wintry wind so cold it left long fingers of ice dangling from the chandeliers above. The Arbiter stood silently observing his company before at last speaking. Quite simply, he requested to be allowed to enroll in a number of classes. He had arrived to learn of magic and more. Shocked, the scholars admitted him. During his stint at the White Tower, Boreas proved to be an invaluable source of information on elemental magic. Scholars learned much from his ability to create ice so cold it could withstand the sun's direct heat, and Boreas learned so much of the magic and the world beyond his icy domain. Knowledge became his ultimate pursuit, and so he endeavors to expand his understanding of magic and the world at large. Obviously, people know about Boreas. He made that monumental tower, so they know who he is. And I imagine he comes through the doors, and everybody stops, silent. They see all the ice everywhere, and they're like, oh my god, Boreas. This big ice man that's done so much for the world. And he's like, I would like to be schooled. Please enroll me. I want to learn. They're like, ooh, a man. A man amongst everybody. Let's go. Because this is the White Tower, too. Mostly what we've heard of is, like, the ladies going there for, like, safe refuge and to learn magic and to learn about themselves. So this guy shows up, and the women are like, okay, sure. And we're ending the video off today with Cade, who I also don't know much about at all. The Soaring Spirit, a mystical spirit caller who channels the power of lost souls to destroy his foes. I could feel someone watching me, though I never felt in danger. Traveler of the Maternia Jungle. The sprawling Maternia Jungle is a land inundated with vitality and mysticism, home to countless exotic species of magnificent wildlife. Any person residing in this wild land shares a deep connection to the natural world. For Cade the Soaring Spirit, this fact is quite literally personified. Born a nobleman's son in the Yalnar kingdom, Cade felt perpetually out of place, a self-prescribed misanthrope. He set out at a young age in search of the kind of isolation only nature can provide. His sojourn ultimately landed him in the Maternia Jungle, where he experienced a peace he believed impossible to attain. This was his new home. The jungle was harsh, but Cade was resourceful. Eventually constructing a lean-to among the boughs of a massive tree, he wasn't alone, as directly across from him lived a great harpy eagle and her offspring. Though initially wary of her new neighbor, the mother eagle quickly warmed to him after he left the occasional pile of grubs for her fledglings to enjoy. Cade was beyond content, feeling more connected to the jungle each day, until the intruders arrived. They can never just let them be happy. Seemingly overnight, swaths of the jungle were cleared for resources and timber, with exotic animals being poached along the way. Cade scouted the defilers, quickly surmising they'd come from Yalnar. Rage built within as he appeared he could not escape the opulence and greed of a life he'd left behind. Though not a fighter by nature, when the intruders set their sights upon the eagle's tree, Cade knew he must act. Descending to the forest floor, he placed himself in front of the men, selflessly challenging them. He received an arrow to the shoulder for his defiance, his cry prompting the great harpy mother to descend and attack the men. Tragically, both were cut down in the skirmish, their blood mixing together in the soil of the jungle as the fledgling eagles wailed with sorrow above. Then it happened. So powerful were the events surrounding Cade's death that the great light burst forth, blinding the intruding men as a new figure towered over them, prompting the retreat. The spirits of Maternia had granted Cade a second chance life to serve as the jungle's ultimate protector. The entity that soars between life and death, the Soaring Spirit, remains vigilant to this day, ready to rally the forces of the jungle against any evils that arise. But a third chance. He forced himself to have a second chance by putting himself in nature and changing his life around. And then that got ruined, but the eagle dying and him dying went together and they became a new beautiful soul. And that makes Cade. And now he takes care of the Maternia Jungle. Yay! That was really cute, actually. I'm happy with that story. That was adorable. I'm sorry that the eagle had to die, but hey, she's in you now. So it's kind of like a resurrection or a rebirth, if you will. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I had a lot of fun with that. I feel like the Esoterics were one of the ones that I wasn't as into when we did the epics and everything. They weren't my number one. They weren't as intriguing. This, though, I'm excited to do the next video for you guys because those stories were all fire, and even though it made me not like some of them as much, they were still really good. But thank you so much for watching the part 1 of the Esoterics. I'm Kate Rebel. This is Kate Rebel's Realm, and I will see you guys next time. That's gonna be really annoying, buddy boy. Ooh, who's he? I don't know what I'm saying. What am I doing? The Carrion Queen. Queen. Oh, the Carrion Queen. Natural. Strewn about a quiet woodland gland. Gland? Ew. Ew.
Kai, Mir,
Kai, Mir, this big man meat, ice man. Oh, zoink, Scoob. You're a beautiful soul and no one knows it.